Welcome to the Retirement Blueprint with the founder of 210 Financial, Phil Cooper. A program designed to empower you to live financially confident in retirement. From income planning and wealth management to healthcare, defending against taxes, and leaving a legacy. Phil shares the strategies and insights you need to help achieve retirement success. This is the Retirement Blueprint.
Welcome to the show today. I am Jen Rezac. So happy to be here alongside the founder and CEO of 210 Financial, husband, father, proud grandfather, and my friend, Phil Cooper. Phil, how are you today?
I'm good, Jen. How are you doing today? Good to see you.
I'm doing very well. Looking forward to our topic today, Phil.
I am too.
Going to be talking a little bit about women and retirement. It is no secret what we see around the world, Phil. Women tend to outlive men in, I think, pretty much every country around the world. This could present some challenges for women as they prepare for retirement. This is a big topic today.
Well, this is huge. It's absolutely huge. It's a game changer when you think of it that way, that one of the spouses, and generally women, that outlive the other spouse. And I'll tell you, Jen, it's something that's overlooked. This is going to be the greatest maybe awakening for some folks that are listening to the show today, because it is something that is so terribly overlooked. And we're going to talk about a little bit in today's show why that is, but I think a lot of it could be societal, a lot of it's generational, but it is happening every day. We see it every day in our firm.
So this is a big topic, clearly, Phil. Let's dive in here, because whether a woman is single, married, or widowed, there are a number of financial factors she needs to be considering if she's approaching retirement or already there. So how does the fact that most women will outlive their husbands, how does that impact planning for retirement?
Oh, it's absolutely huge, Jen. I don't know if anyone has noticed, the folks that are listening to the show today, really take notice, if you haven't already, when you drive around our central Illinois area, the number of long-term care facilities that are being built, they're literally going up. It seems like they're going up on every corner. They're just going up everywhere. And the reason is because we're living longer. That's great news. We're living healthier. That's greater news. But the issue is we're living a long time and no one's planning for it. Now, here's the statistic I want everyone listening today to really capture, Jen, and that is 80% of men that pass away later in life, they do so they do so married. Men pass away married, and 80% of the ladies pass away single. What is that telling us? Gals, you're outliving the guys by a long margin, a big margin. But what's happening, Jen, is people are failing to plan for that. This could be something that is so derailing to someone's retirement if it's not done so early on in their planning process. This is a big, big deal.
So let me repeat that stat again. I jotted that down. 80% of men die married. 80% of women die single. That is a huge statistic for us to try to wrap our minds around and really try to understand. So for the women who are starting to recognize that, Phil, that you work with, what are they concerned about when it comes to their retirement? What kinds of questions or concerns do you hear from women who are worried about retirement?
Jen, I've been doing this for a very long time. I know we have done this for years and years, decades and decades. And I would tell you, if I was to take all of the questions, all of the concerns that ladies have had through the years and put them down into one phrase, it would be this. They will look at me and say, am I going to be okay? Am I going to have enough money for the rest of my life? As they're married, as the husband is working, they're working. That seemed to be everything was good. They were raising kids, they were paying mortgages, they were doing life, and then maybe they retired and everything seemed to be okay then. But then the ladies, I think, as I mentioned in the opening there, I think it's societal. I think some of it's generational. But there is a demographic of folks that say, am I going to be okay? And I think that's the number one concern, because it's a real thing to say, what if my partner's not here? How am I going to make it? And if I'm not going to make it, what is plan B? And sometimes they just kind of throw their hands up and go, I don't know, Phil, are we going to be okay? So back to my point. After all of the meetings and all of the sessions and all of the concerns, the number one thing I hear is people say, please show me a way that we're going to know that I am okay.
I've got another stat for you, Phil. You shared this one about the percentage of women or men who die married or single. Here's another stat that really caught my eye. Women in the United States control a huge portion of personal wealth in the country, around $14 trillion. But AARP says only 12% of women feel very confident about their ability to retire with a comfortable lifestyle. So what do you think is going on there? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, again, back to this maybe it's going to sound like I'm beating the same drum over and over, Jim, but I think it's worthy of repeating. There is a generational and / societal issue that we have in our country where ladies have taken a back seat many times in their finances, and there's been men that just run the show, kind of maybe in their home, or that was a thing of their generation. We are seeing ladies really step to the forefront. This is really a wonderful thing to notice. The gals are stepping to the forefront, realizing they're probably going to outlive their spouse, realizing they're the ones who can control this, and they're the ones who can put a plan in place to say, I need to make sure that we're okay as a married couple, and I need to make sure that I'm okay later. But I think there's a lot of folks out there who just have not listened to what the concerns of the ladies have been. And that is changing. We're seeing this metamorphosis, and it's a wonderful thing to watch. Ladies are standing up, and industries are coming to the forefront and saying, hey, these gals have a say-so. We better be listening to them. So I think that's the number one thing. Folks are not listening to the ladies. That's changing right now. And we're noticing also, too, that there's a huge percentage of ladies, 70% of ladies, that if their husband passes away, they will leave their current advisor looking for a different approach, a different perspective, because they felt like they were not listened to by their current advisor because their husband was the one that's even being spoken to or being dealt with, or maybe it was the husband who was more controlling of their finances. And so we're seeing this metamorphosis, this change, and it's a wonderful thing to watch. But we are seeing that people better start standing up and listening to the gals, because the gals have a lot of understanding, they have a lot of concerns, and they have a lot of longevity. And so the gals, if you're listening, this is something we need you to say, okay, it's time that you grab this by the reins and take control of your own finances, because it's probably going to be you who's dealing with them on your own later in life.
That's right. And we do have a great resource that can help you with that. Check out the website on your screen for the free guide, 10 Tips to Help Empower Women Investors. There's a lot of great information available there. This is the Retirement Blueprint Show with Phil Cooper. We'll be back in just a moment.
Eggs. For you, they never ended up in one basket. You saved, you invested, you diversified. Then, with the right help, you grew your nest egg and found the recipe for your ideal retirement. And when it all came together, you realized it was about more than just eggs. Write your retirement recipe today.
In everyone's life, there is a time to plant the seeds for a future in financial freedom. 210 Financial can help you harvest the fruits of your labor so you don't have to be worried about running out of money in retirement. Call 800-727-7754 for a complimentary Retirement Blueprint Financial Review. Again, that's 800-727-7754 or go to 210financial.com.
Thanks for joining us today on Retirement Blueprint. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Phil Cooper. He is the founder of 210 Financial. Glad you've joined us on the show today. And Phil, we're talking today about the challenges that women face as they prepare for retirement. And as it turns out, there are quite a few challenges for women preparing for retirement, right?
Yeah, there really are. We talked about in segment 1 about the longevity of life, that ladies are usually outliving the men. That's a huge one, simply because if we don't know when we're going to be called from this earth, right? But we do know that statistically, if a person's going to be what we call normal, then the ladies are going to outlive the guys. So that's being missed in the planning process. No one's addressing that. That needs to be addressed. Number 2 is a lot of times it was the lady who left the workforce early to care for children, to take care of maybe elderly parents or things like that. And so they have contributed less to things like 401ks. And if they contributed less because they weren't in the workforce, then a lot of times they're also receiving less Social Security benefits. So there's a plethora of things that are going on that could be detrimental to the retirement long term.
And something that you did point out earlier that I thought was really important, it's a stat that I want to go ahead and repeat. 70%, you said, 70% of women leave the advisor who served them after their husband's death. So there's an issue there continuing working with that same person. Let's talk about why that is. Why do women feel the need to start working with somebody else if something happens to their husband?
I think they were very uncomfortable in their current situation. Either they did not feel involved, and maybe their relationship had gone on for such a long time with that advisor that they felt like maybe the ship had sailed and it was too late to say, hey, you know, I didn't really get involved early on. I'd like to maybe change that now. And I just think they just get to the point where it's just kind of, it was working for them, everything was okay, so they left it alone. But now the ladies are saying, hey, I want to know what's going on. I want to understand my own plan. I kind of want to direct my own future. I want to dictate what happens to me in my future. And they're saying, I need a different perspective. I need a different opinion because the current advisor relationship was always dealing with their husband, and they were just uncomfortable with that. And I would encourage you that if that is you, you need to take a different look. You need to get a fresh perspective, because if you don't control your future with your finances, somebody else is going to, and it may not be in your favor.
And there are just so many big risks here. So much is at stake when we talk about our financial future, especially for women. When you talk about nursing home costs, for example, and what that could be like. I know we touched on that a little bit ago, but some 68% of nursing home residents are women, and nursing home care isn't cheap. These are really big things that we need to be planning for.
They're huge things. And Jen, I think there's no hard argument to make that if you and I were having a conversation 5 years or 10 years ago, and we were talking about the cost of health care, whether that's for retirees or for folks who are still working, we would never have dreamed we would have to be cutting out of our budget the amount of money we're cutting out of our budget now for health insurance premiums and for long-term care coverage and those kinds of things. And as we're moving through this aging population of Americans, we're seeing that healthcare costs seem to have no ceiling on them. It just keeps rising and rising and rising. And as we mentioned in one of the earlier segments, the good news about all this is we are living longer. Ladies, you're probably going to live longer than your generation before you. And then your parents lived a generation or lived longer than the generation ahead of them. That's great news. We get to enjoy life longer. We get to enjoy those grandkids longer. We get to do things we always dreamed of doing, longer retirements. However, we have to have some dollars to go with that retirement. So back to the point of health care, yes, it's expensive. Yes, it's rising. Ladies are living longer, all of that. But the good news is, if you plan early, you can fix those problems. We can fix those problems most of the time, but you have to plan. I always say the best time to make a good financial plan is yesterday, but yesterday's gone, so when's the next time? Right now. This is why we start planning for these things right now.
Right. We do need to stay on top of this. And such an important point, Phil, when you pointed out earlier that so many times it's the woman who ends up leaving the workforce to become a caregiver. Sometimes that's for her own spouse. And if he passes before her, it can really take a toll on you, that role of caregiver, that can really take a toll on you physically. And then that is what leads so many women to end up needing care themselves later. They kind of run themselves down almost. So that's why it's so important that we talk about planning for these things. What are some of the options, Phil, when it comes to things like long-term care, nursing home care? It used to be those standalone traditional long-term care policies. Is that the solution that we talk about today?
Yes, those are still solutions, but they're not always the best solutions, Jen. The industry, again, has changed. The financial services industry has changed so much in very positive ways, simply because of the American population is aging, and all of the industries, not just the financial services industry, but all industries are now changing to meet the needs of an aging population. So there's a multitude of ways. Here's a couple of ideas that you may have to, you may want to write down if you're listening to the show today. How do I care for myself if I have to have some form of long-term care or some form of long-term a health issue that arises? Maybe it's in-home care or you're in a facility or something. Yes, there's the standard long-term care insurance policies. Those still exist. They are expensive, and it seems to be they get more expensive all the time because healthcare keeps rising all the time. The other thing is, if a person goes to a long-term care facility, Jen, here's what we know to be true about them. They're still alive. Well, if you're still alive, that means your income has not gone down. However, is there enough income that's going to be there to take care of that? We can plan for those things now to have income that takes care of you while you're out of a home, also takes care of you while you're in a home. There's also some other types of policies, some insurance policies that double kind of as a life insurance policy. If you don't use them for life insurance, you can take care of yourself in a long-term care facility. My point of all of that is this, Jen. There are a lot of different ways now to mitigate against that risk of long-term care coverage, whether that's just a health care coverage or whether that's some form of memory care coverage or things like that. But back to the point of this whole show, what are we talking about? It's the ladies, it's the ladies, it's the ladies. Guys, yes, if you're listening to the show today, we're going to let you listen in. We're going to say you need a plan too. But really, it's the ladies, because these are the things that are really, really important because of the statistics that were mentioned in segment 1 and then beginning of segment 2 here.
Certainly a lot of challenges for women preparing for retirement. Healthcare costs, long-term care, that is a huge issue, but it's only one of many issues when we think about all the financial challenges and all of the risks to our income in retirement. We do have a free guide available to help you get some tips to be empowered. 10 tips to help empower women investors. That free guide is available if you just go to the website on your screen. This is Retirement Blueprint. Kendall's Corner is up next, but first, here's how you can contact Phil and the team at 210 Financial. Check out the website on your screen. We'll be back.
For our generation, we've always known that a hard day's work is its own reward. It's something our parents taught us long ago, and it's something we hope continues for our family. Honest work has always been a part of our lives. So for some of us, it's hard to turn off that work switch in retirement. But imagine what can happen when that work switch becomes a life switch. Look at the day that's ahead of you now. 8 hours of your energy, wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do, and with whomever you want to be with, at whatever pace you like. And then you realize a nice day in retirement is its own reward. The team at 210 Financial can help turn a work switch into a life switch. They can develop retirement strategies to help work days become life days and create a plan for the retirement years ahead.
In everyone's life, there is a time to plant the seeds for a future and financial freedom. 210 Financial can help you harvest the fruits of your labor so you don't have to be worried about running out of money in retirement. Call 800-727-7754 for a complimentary Retirement Blueprint financial review. Again, that's 800-727-7754 or go to 210financial.com.
Hey everybody, it's Kendall, advisor and partner here at 210 Financial, and this is Kendall's Corner. I know that Phil and Jen have talked a lot about women and retirement and what that looks like. But I just wanted you to know that women in retirement is kind of near and dear to my heart, and the reason for that is I'm one of 9, meaning I have 8 siblings, and I'm the only boy. So I kind of understand women and what they have to go through and what that's going to look like for them in the future. And of course, I want the best for my family as well. Let's see, I think it was 2003. I was turning 12 years old, and my grandma was coming to pick me up, and we were going to go shopping for my birthday present. That's what we always did. She would take us shopping for our birthday present, us grandkids. And she was kind of the grandma that you wanted to take you shopping because she wasn't afraid to spend the money. And so as a 12-year-old boy, what I was into that year was paintballing. So I don't know if you know what paintballing is or not, but we went to the local sporting goods store, and we were going to go buy a paintball gun for my birthday. And we go to the store, and we're walking in, and as we're walking in, I started thinking, you know what? Grandpa had just passed away the year before, and I was like, I wonder what that means. I don't know if Grandma's going to spend the money like she normally did on our birthday presents or not. I had no idea as a 12-year-old what kind of a position that Grandpa had left Grandma in. And so we go to the store, we're walking down the aisles, we're looking at the paintball guns, and just kind of imagine with me, we're getting to the paintball gun aisle, and there's kind of the first row of them there, and they're the nice ones, you know. They were the cheaper ones, maybe $50 or $80. And then there was kind of the middle of the road ones, and those were the ones that all my buddies had, right? And I was like, well, I think this will work, Grandma, right here. And that paintball gun was probably $100 or $150 or something like that. And she's like, okay, that looks nice, but what about these down here on the other end? And so we walked down there, and I can still remember it had its own display. It was called the Tippmann A5. I still know what it was called. Don't have the paintball guns anymore. And that was kind of the holy grail of paintball guns back then. It had all the extras on it. Extra long barrel. It had this extra spinner thing on it that would feed paintball guns faster than feed paintballs through the gun faster than all of your buddies. And I was like, Grandma, that is the one that I think would be pretty cool. And then I looked at the price tag, and it was like $279. And I was like, ooh, I don't think that's going to work. And Grandma goes, okay, well, let's get that one then. And so as a 12-year-old boy, I had pretty much hit the jackpot, I thought. And then she started asking me, okay, what else do you need to go with it? And I'm like, well, I could use this belt that would hold all my extra paintball guns and CO2 and stuff like that. And anyways, why am I telling you this story? So obviously, for my birthday, I did pretty well that year. And so I walked out of that store, and I thought, wow, Grandpa must have left Grandma in a pretty good position that she was still able to do this after he had passed away. So now fast forward with me, and I promise this is going to go somewhere. Fast forward with me. April of 2020, me and my family celebrated Grandma's 80th birthday through the window of the nursing home or the long-term care facility or whatever you want to call it. And Grandma was in a little bit different position than what she was back when she was taking me birthday shopping. Unfortunately, Grandma was living paycheck to paycheck with Social Security, and I think my mom and dad and maybe aunts and uncles were kind of helping her out financially. And that was just a year or two ago, and I kind of understood maybe Grandpa didn't have the plan that I thought they did, and maybe Grandma didn't quite understand the planning that needed to be done. And so that's kind of my why. Everybody in our firm has a different story like that. That's why we're here. You heard Phil and Jen talk today a whole lot about what happens when one of the spouses passes away, and usually it's the man first. So what I'm trying to say is anybody out there that doesn't have a plan for when one of the spouses pass away, it's time to get it done, because I don't want you to have to worry about being able to buy a Christmas present for a grandson or a granddaughter, or can I go on this vacation or not. If you just start putting those plans in place right now, it can make a huge difference over your lifetime or even when one of you are gone. So you can check out our website, 210financial.com, or our phone numbers on the screen right now. Our plan is called the Retirement Blueprint Financial Review, and we would love to take you and anyone else through that process to make sure that your dollars last as long as you do. Coming up next, Phil and Jen recap the show today.
Where would you go if you could go anywhere? What would you do if you could do anything? How would you fill your days? Who would you spend them with? When you retire, what will you explore? Let us show you how a complete retirement plan can open your world to endless possibilities. Explore your retirement.
Your first day of retirement. What will you wake up to? Freedom? Time? Adventure? Your ideal retirement doesn't just have to come alive in your dreams. Awaken to your new reality. Awaken your spirit, your vision. It's not a dream. It's your next chapter, your future, and it's in reach. Next generation retirement doesn't happen by accident. Plan for your bright future. Awaken to what's possible.
I'm here with Phil Cooper, the founder of 210 Financial. Glad you've joined us today for Retirement Blueprint. And Phil, we've covered a lot of issues that women specifically need to think about when it comes to their financial plans for the future. As we close out the show today, just a few minutes left, what's your biggest piece of advice, Phil, for women thinking about retirement?
Jen, I think that I would give you a couple of different priorities to those that are listening today. Number one, get involved. Get involved in your future. Nobody else is going to have the care or the concern over your future as much as you are. So get involved. Number two, be proactive. Look down the road and say, what if? Jen, it used to be that the greatest risk to someone's retirement was maybe the stock market risk or interest rate risk or inflation. I say that probably one of the greatest risks today is living a long time, and it's happening. So get proactive. And number three, make sure you have a plan in place that is going to take care of you in the event that you are not with a spouse in the future.
Yeah, and you hear this phrase, and I don't want to use it in the wrong way, but a man isn't a plan, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way toward your spouse.
Absolutely. That is true.
I mean that one day they might not be there, and so you're right. We don't want to totally rely on them. We need to have that plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just one of those things that we want to think about. So, Phil, again, one of the big stats that we shared a couple times throughout the show today, I just want to reiterate it one more time here in this last part. 80% of men die married, 80% of women die single, and 68% of nursing home residents are women. So a lot of women will end up in a place where they are needing care. And that's why we talk about having that solid financial plan in place, because your spouse probably won't be there with you at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Either they're going to wind up in a place where they're going to need care, or if they don't, they still might be finishing out their life as a single person. So either way, we've got to make a plan for them right now.
That's right. And we don't want to leave you on a negative note, though, because the good news is there's so much you can do. Women face some real challenges when it comes to financial planning for the future, but we have some tips to help empower women investors. And Phil, I love that word, empower, because that's exactly what we can do. And we want to leave people on a positive note where we are feeling empowered today, right?
Absolutely. There's hope for anyone listening today. It is not too late. If you're listening today, there's still time. There's still time. Make a plan, get proactive, get involved, make a plan for your future. Time is right now. Time is of the essence.
That's exactly right. Check out the website on your screen. We have a free guide, 10 tips to help empower women investors. We encourage you to check that out. Reach out to Phil and the team at 210 Financial with your questions. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
See you next week.